The ballroom glittered like a world I was never meant to enter. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling of the Atlanta hotel, scattering golden light across polished marble floors. Every laugh sounded practiced. Every smile looked expensive. I stood near the entrance, smoothing the fabric of my emerald evening dress, the one that had taken me 3 hours to choose. And still I was not sure I belonged here. "My name is Rebecca Sloan." Beside me stood Caleb Wright, calm and unbothered in a simple dark suit. No flashy watch. No cufflinks. Nothing that screamed power, even though everyone in this room knew exactly who he was. "Welcome to my channel." I share real-life stories here every day. If you enjoy stories about strength, survival, and quiet revenge, please like this video and subscribe. Now let me take you back into my story. As we stepped further into the room, the energy shifted. Conversations paused, heads turned. A gray-haired man in a tailored tuxedo rushed toward Caleb, shaking his hand with both of his. Others followed, smiling too quickly, eager to be seen. No one looked at me. I was still trying to breathe, trying to remember how a woman who once counted coins for bus fare had ended up here, when I saw him. Lucas Grant. My ex-husband stood by the bar, a champagne glass in his hand. Hanging onto his arm was a young woman in a tight red dress, Vanessa. Lucas was smiling, confident, enjoying the illusion that he belonged in this world. Then our eyes met. The color drained from his face. His fingers loosened. The glass slipped from his hand and shattered against the marble floor, the sound cutting through the music like a gunshot. People gasped. Vanessa shrieked and jumped back. I did not move. I just stared at the man who 1 year ago had thrown me and my 1-year-old daughter out into the freezing night. And if you are wondering how I went from that cold sidewalk to this ballroom, you need to hear what happened next. 1 year earlier, my world was very different. January had been unforgiving that winter. The cold pressed against the thin walls of our rented apartment on the south side of the city, and the heater worked only when it felt like it. I wrapped my daughter Lily in 2 blankets and held her close, listening to the wind rattle the windows. Lily was just over 1 year old. She had recently learned to stand by holding onto the couch, her small fingers gripping the fabric with determination. Her favorite word was mama. Every time she said it, something inside me softened, even on the hardest days. That night, Lucas came home close to 11. I heard him fumbling with the lock, cursing under his breath. The sound alone told me he had been drinking again. When the door finally opened, he stumbled inside, knocking over the coat rack. Jackets fell to the floor as he laughed to himself. I stepped out of the bedroom quietly, hoping Lily would stay asleep. He looked at me with a glassy, unfocused stare. This was not the careless drunk I had learned to manage. This was anger. "She asleep already," he said, mocking my voice. "Of course she is. That kid sleeps more than she breathes. Just like you." "Lucas, what happened?" I asked. He walked into the kitchen and yanked open the refrigerator. "What happened is I got fired, and it is your fault." My stomach dropped. Fired meant rent we could not pay. Bills that were already late. Fear wrapped itself around my chest. "We will figure it out," I said. "I can take more work. I always do." He turned so fast I flinched. "Who needs you?" he snapped. "A woman with a kid dragging her down. If it were not for you, I would have been successful by now." "Do not talk like that in front of Lily," I whispered. He laughed. "She will grow up just like you, weak. Both of you are anchors around my neck." I reached for his arm, trying to calm him. He shoved me backward. My shoulder hit the door frame, pain shooting down my arm. Lily woke up and began to cry. That was it? Lucas stormed into the bedroom, throwing open the closet. He started pulling my clothes off the hangers and tossing them onto the floor. Dresses, sweaters, shoes. "Get out," he shouted. "Both of you, I am done." He grabbed the old hospital bag and shoved Lily's things inside. Diapers, a coat, a toy. "You cannot do this," I said, my hands shaking as I lifted Lily from her crib. "The lease is in my name," he replied coldly. "Get out." Minutes later, we were standing in the hallway. The door slammed shut behind us. My coat and the bag landed at my feet. I was barefoot, Lily was crying, and the apartment I thought was my home was suddenly no longer mine. I stepped outside into the night with Lily pressed against my chest. The hallway was almost as cold as the street, so I kept walking, Snow drifted down in small, sharp flakes, stinging my face. I had $11 in my pocket, no phone, no car, no plan. The only place I could think of that stayed open all night was the bus station. I walked until my legs burned. By the time I reached the station, my fingers were numb and Lily had gone quiet. That scared me more than her crying. I rubbed her tiny hands, breathing warm air onto her fingers, begging her to stay awake. Inside, the station smelled of disinfectant and old coffee. A few people slept on plastic chairs. I sat in the corner and wrapped Lily tighter in my coat. She was hungry. I bought a single pastry and broke it into small pieces, feeding her slowly. She ate without understanding why everything felt wrong. I was grateful for that. A security guard approached, his voice flat and bored. "You cannot stay here," he said. "This is not a shelter." "Please," I whispered. "I have my baby." "Either buy a ticket or leave." I lowered my eyes, feeling something inside me crack. "She is with me." The voice came from nearby, calm, steady. A man stood up from the next bench. He wore a worn leather jacket and carried a backpack that looked too light to hold much. He did not smile, he did not glare, he simply looked at the guard. "We are waiting for a bus," the man said. "We will be quiet." The guard hesitated, then shrugged and walked away. The man sat down beside me without asking questions. A moment later, he returned with 2 cups from the machine. "Tea," he said. "It will help." My hands shook so badly I nearly spilled it. He did not comment. Lily fell asleep against my chest, finally warm. The tears came then, silent and uncontrollable. My shoulders shook as I tried not to wake her. The man handed me a napkin. "Cry," he said quietly, "that is allowed, but then you have to act." I looked at him, ordinary face, tired eyes, nothing heroic about him. "Who are you?" I asked. "Someone who once sat on this bench with nothing," he answered. He reached into his pocket and handed me a small card, just a phone number. "If you need a place tomorrow, call this." Before I could ask anything else, he stood up and walked away. By morning he was gone. Only the empty cup remained. When the sun rose, Lily woke up hungry and confused. I called the number on the card with trembling fingers. A woman answered, her voice calm and direct. She asked only a few questions and then gave me an address. The shelter sat behind a tall fence on the edge of the city. It was not beautiful, but it was clean. The porch light was on, even though it was already morning. A woman in a simple gray dress opened the door. "You must be Rebecca," she said. "I am Ruth Coleman. Come in." She did not fuss over Lily, or speak in a soft voice meant to comfort me. She led us down a hallway to a small room with 2 beds and a crib. "This will be your room," she said, "for 3 months. 3 months, I repeated. "You have 3 months to get on your feet," she replied. "We will help you, but we will not carry you. Breakfast is downstairs in 1 hour. Daycare is in the East Wing. If you have questions, ask later." Then she left. I sat on the bed, holding Lily, unsure whether to cry or sleep. Over the next few days, I learned how the shelter worked. There were lawyers who helped with paperwork, counselors who listened without judgment, a daycare that allowed mothers to work without fear. But there were rules. Curfews, chores, mandatory job searches. And one rule above all others, no self-pity. I took the first job I could find, cleaning offices from early morning until afternoon. The pay was low, but it was honest. At night, I did bookkeeping work for small businesses on my laptop. I balanced numbers while Lily slept in the crib beside me. I slept 4 hours a night. I lost weight. My hands ached. But I was moving forward. One afternoon, I asked Mrs. Coleman about the shelter. "Who pays for all of this?" I said. She looked at me for a long moment. "I do not know," she answered, "and I do not want to know. As long as the help keeps coming, we keep helping." That night, I promised myself something. I would not waste this chance. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. One of my bookkeeping clients, the owner of a small auto repair shop, mentioned my name to an acquaintance. The man needed a remote bookkeeper for a construction company. Nothing fancy, mostly reports and reconciliations. The offer arrived by email. The pay was strange, almost too generous for the amount of work described, 3 times the usual rate. The only condition was absolute transparency, no shortcuts, no creative accounting. I hesitated. People do not usually pay that well for honesty, they pay for silence. But I needed the money. Lily needed stability, and something about the wording of the email felt different, direct, clean. I accepted. The first few days were routine: invoices, payroll, supplier payments. Then, on the third day, I noticed something that did not add up. At first it was small, a material expense slightly higher than market price, then another, then a payroll entry for an employee who did not exist in any records. I kept digging. The deeper I went, the clearer it became. The previous bookkeeper had been stealing. Not carefully, not cleverly, just boldly. Fake vendors, inflated invoices, ghost workers. In 6 months, nearly $120,000 had disappeared. I sat in front of my laptop, staring at the numbers. I could ignore it, pretend I never saw it, collect my paycheck and keep my head down. No one had asked me to investigate the past. But I remembered the bus station, the cold, the words that stranger had spoken. Cry, then act. I wrote a report. Not emotional, not dramatic, just facts, dates, amounts, documents attached. I sent it and waited. An hour later, a reply arrived. Thank you. You are the first person who noticed this. I would like to meet you tomorrow. 2 o'clock, Riverside Cafe. My heart began to race. Who was this man? And why did I feel like my life was about to change again? The Riverside Cafe sat quietly by the river, far from the noise of downtown. I arrived early, my hands wrapped around a paper cup of coffee I had not ordered yet. When I looked up, my breath caught. He was already there. There. The man from the bus station sat by the window, a tablet on the table in front of him. The same worn jacket, the same calm posture. He looked up and met my eyes. "Sit down, Rebecca," he said gently. "We need to talk." I felt the room tilt slightly as I took the chair across from him. "It was you," I whispered. "Yes," he said. "My name is Caleb Wright." Nothing about his tone was dramatic. He did not explain himself right away. He did not apologize. "You own the company?" I said. "Not just that one," he replied. "It is part of a larger group." I stared at him, trying to connect the quiet man from the bus station with the owner of a company that could afford to pay me 3 times the market rate. "Were you following me?" I asked. "No," he said. "I gave you the shelter number and forgot about it. Later, I needed a bookkeeper. Someone recommended you. I did not realize it was you until I saw your name." "Chance," he added, "is more common than people think." The waiter brought me coffee without asking. Caleb nodded once and the waiter left. "You found the theft," he continued. "Several professionals looked at those numbers before you. No one said a word. You did." "Why?" he asked. "Because stealing is wrong," I answered, "and silence is just another way of helping it happen." He studied me for a long moment. "I need someone like that in my company," he said. "In-house, full-time." He named the salary, the benefits, the daycare. I swallowed. "I do not take favors," I said. "This is not a favor," he replied. "It is work, hard work, and you will be watched." I nodded slowly. "Then I have conditions," I said. He leaned back. "I am listening." I started on Monday. The office occupied several floors of a glass building downtown. Everything was quiet and efficient, the kind of place where mistakes were not forgiven. I arrived early, holding my badge like it might disappear if I loosened my grip. People looked at me twice, some looked 3 times. "She is the one the boss hired personally," I heard someone whisper. I kept my head down and worked. My role was clear. Follow the money. Trace every contract. Question everything that felt even slightly off. Caleb did not soften the expectations. If anything, he pushed harder. The first weeks were exhausting. I stayed late. I double-checked everything. I picked Lily up from daycare just before closing, and worked again after she fell asleep. The doubt around me was loud. I felt it in the silence when I entered a room, in the conversations that stopped halfway, in the polite smiles that never reached anyone's eyes. Then I found it. A logistics contract that made no sense. Payments routed through shell companies. numbers that did not match the physical movement of goods. I documented everything and submitted the report. The next day, a senior executive came to my office. "You are new here," he said, sitting down without asking. "You do not understand how things work yet." He slid an envelope across my desk. "Forget the report." I pushed the envelope back. "No." His smile disappeared. "You are making a mistake." I stood up. "Leave my office." He left angry. I did not change a single word in the report. A week later he was gone. No announcement, no explanation. After that, people stopped whispering when I walked by. They watched me instead. And for the first time since I walked through those doors, I knew one thing for certain. I was not going anywhere. Just when life began to feel stable, the past came looking for me. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning. A court summons. Lucas Grant was suing for custody of Lily. Not visitation, custody. My hands shook as I read the papers. The man who had thrown us into the freezing night now claimed he wanted to be a father. The lawyer I consulted did not sugarcoat it. "He does not want the child," she said. "He wants money. If you pay, he will disappear." I did not have that kind of money. The courtroom was small and crowded. Lucas sat across from me in a clean suit, sober and confident. Beside him was an expensive lawyer who spoke smoothly, as if this were just another business meeting. They painted me as unstable, inconsistent income, a woman who had lived in a shelter, a child growing up without a proper father. When it was my turn, I told the truth. About the night he threw us out, about the bus station, about Lily crying in the cold. The lawyer objected. "No proof, emotional interpretation." I felt the judge's attention slipping away from me. Then the door opened. Caleb walked in quietly and took a seat in the back row. He did not speak. He did not look at me. He simply sat there, hands folded, watching. The judge paused. Her posture changed. After a short recess, the questions shifted. Why had Lucas not paid child support for a year? Why had he shown no interest in his daughter until now? What was his current income? Lucas stumbled over his answers. The ruling came an hour later. Custody remained with me, visitation only under supervision, and Lucas was ordered to pay back child support. I stood there, barely breathing. It was over. Outside the courtroom, Caleb approached me. "You did not ask for help," he said. I nodded. "But you needed it?" he replied. I did not know whether to be angry or grateful, so I said nothing at all. And that brings me back to the ballroom. Music flowed again after the broken glass was cleared, but something in the room had shifted. People pretended nothing had happened, yet I felt their curiosity pressing in from every direction. Lucas had disappeared toward the bar. I should have turned away. I should have stayed close to the window and let the night pass. But Lucas had never known when to stop. I watched him drink too fast, his confidence dissolving with every glass. Vanessa tugged at his sleeve, whispering something urgent, but he shrugged her off and walked toward us. "Rebecca Sloan," he said loudly, stopping in front of me. "Long time no see." Heads turned. Conversations died mid-sentence. "I see you landed on your feet," he continued, his smile sharp. "Found yourself a generous sponsor. How much does he pay you, monthly or nightly?" For a moment I wanted to answer him, to defend myself, to explain. Caleb's hand rested lightly on my shoulder. "You must be Lucas Grant," he said calmly. Lucas stiffened. "The same Lucas Grant who stole $35,000 from his employer 4 years ago and avoided charges only because a friend covered the loss." The color drained from Lucas's face. Nearby, a man I recognized as Vincent, his former friend, looked away. "That is a lie," Lucas stammered. Caleb's voice did not rise. "I have copies of the police report and the restitution agreement. I can share them if you like." Lucas said nothing. "You forced this woman and her infant child out into the street in winter," Caleb continued. "You failed to support your daughter. You tried to use the court to extort money." Each sentence landed heavily. "And now you stand here and question her character." Security was already approaching. "Leave," Caleb said, quietly. Lucas backed away, shouting something incoherent as guards took his arms and led him toward the exit. Vanessa followed, heels clicking in panic. The room was silent. I felt something unexpected. Not victory, not satisfaction. Relief. For the first time, Lucas Grant held no power over me at all. A month after the gala, Lucas came to see me. He looked smaller than I remembered. Thinner. Older. The confidence that once filled every room was gone, replaced by desperation. His hands shook as he stood in my doorway. "I made mistakes," he said. "My mother interfered. Vanessa used me. You were the only one who ever believed in me." I listened without interrupting. He asked for forgiveness, then for money, just enough to get back on his feet. I studied his face and felt nothing, no anger, no hatred, just distance. "Do you remember what you called me that night?" I asked. "You said I was useless. You said our daughter would be the same." He lowered his eyes. "I forgave you a long time ago," I said. "Not for you, for myself." I handed him an envelope. $3,000, I said. "Enough for a room and time to find work. Use it wisely." His eyes filled with tears. "This is not a second chance," I added. "This is the last kindness." He nodded and left. When the door closed, I leaned against it and exhaled. The past was finished. I was free. Caleb and I did not rush. There were no dramatic confessions, no promises made under pressure. We spent time together quietly. Walks in the park, evenings cooking simple meals, watching Lily draw at the table between us. He never tried to rescue me. I never tried to fill the emptiness in his life. We chose each other deliberately. One evening, as Lily slept, Caleb looked at me and spoke carefully. "I do not know how to be impressive," he said. "I know how to be loyal, and patient, and present." That was enough for me. For the first time, I was not surviving, I was building. Lily thrived. She laughed more, she slept peacefully, she trusted the world again. And slowly, so did I. 6 months later, we stood by the ocean. The house behind us was small, bright, and ours. Lily played in the sand while the waves rolled in softly. Caleb took my hand and opened a small box. Inside was a simple ring, no diamonds, just words engraved on the inside. "Step by step." He looked at me, nervous and honest. "I spent my life building companies," he said. "I want to spend the rest of it building a family with you. Will you marry me?" I said yes. Not because I needed saving. Not because of revenge. But because I chose love from a place of strength. 1 year earlier, I stood in the cold with $7 and a child in my arms. Now I stood in the sunlight, unafraid. If this story spoke to you, please like the video. Share it with someone who needs hope. And tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next story.